Should you buy an iPhone 14 Pro, Pro Max, or maybe even a 14, or wait till the iPhone 15? At this point, we are already in July, which means we only have less than 2 months away until the upcoming iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max announcement. Maybe even a special titanium Ultra model. We'll have to see how Apple goes with the naming scheme or if they just stick with the Pro and Pro Max. Okay, so if all you want is a dynamic island up here, you don't technically have to wait, but if you want it at a cheaper price point, I would consider waiting. Reason being, the regular iPhone 14 model is going to be upgraded to the 15, which should carry over the dynamic island along with the 15 Plus. So if you are looking for dynamic island, but you don't want to go Pro, do consider waiting. But if you just want dynamic island now, and that's the main thing you want to try out, you could just pick yourself up a 14 Pro right now and get that. But still, I would recommend waiting if you're going to go Pro because of the price points are still pretty much retail. You don't really find iPhones on discounts like you can find a lot of other phones at this price point. It's going to be something I would consider waiting for. Now, I feel like the cameras these days are getting kind of boring, and just because, cameras are just so good on these iPhones and a lot of phones that I think they're actually so good that the majority of people aren't even using them to their full capabilities because they don't got time, or they just don't do that as a hobby. I'm not saying you or everybody else is not really taking advantage, but if you're looking for improved cameras with maybe more zoom like you'll find on a Samsung device, I definitely would consider waiting for the 15 Pro and Pro Max due to this fact. Now, the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max can hit that 15 times digital, but you can see the level of noise that is introduced within this lens. Now, the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max should be bringing periscope technology. It might be even reserved only for the Max. We'll see if they cram that into a smaller body. That would be a nice thing for Apple because Samsung doesn't throw in the periscope in a smaller phone. We'll see what happens there. But if zooming is something you really care about, I would definitely wait. That's something you'll definitely want to wait for. Also, not just that, of course, they're going to improve the overall cameras. And because I don't really expect Apple to bring anything flipping or folding this time around, they're definitely going to be working on the user experience, and camera is definitely an area that if you care a lot about it, definitely consider waiting. However, if you don't need the top of the line cameras and you just need, really great professional cameras, you could get that right now. I say top of the line like these aren't top of the line. They are top of the line, but I'm saying just a couple months, they won't be the best out there anymore. Of course, the next phone always replaces the old phone. So if you buy it now, just keep in mind in a couple months, you won't have the best camera on a phone no more, but you'll still have one of the best. Now, do you want USB-C like found already on Samsung phones and Google phones and stuff like that? Well, then I would consider waiting because current iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max models do have Lightning ports. And if you want to keep your Lightning port, then just go ahead and pick yourself up one of these phones. You'll definitely be able to retain that for a long time. However, keep in mind that the iPhone 14 Pro models do not have, any SIM card slot. So you're out of luck there. You have to go eSIM with these models. But if you are looking for USB-C, you'll definitely want to consider waiting. I do really strongly believe Apple's going to bring that this year. I just don't see why they wouldn't. One of the most complained things about the iPhone 14 Pros has been the battery life, and I could see why. They have higher nit displays and they don't have much larger battery. I think they're actually smaller batteries maybe than the 13 Pro and Pro Max. They just don't perform like you would expect a Pro Max and Pro phone to perform. They definitely drain faster than the 13 Pro and Pro Max. They get through a full day, but they're nothing impressive. And Apple has definitely heard this complaint. We've been seeing a lot of rumors, and Apple usually always goes with a phone that has, a lot of nice new features and has a little bit less battery. And then the following year, they bring a really great battery improvement. And I think that's what we had here. This kind of reminds me of like the iPhone 5S or the 5, and then we had the 5S with improved battery, or even like the 6, and then we had the 6S with improved battery. Or even the SE with the SE, or the SE2 with the SE3 having improved battery. iPhone 14 Pro, okay battery life, gets through a day, but I think iPhone 15 Pro is going to be a battery champ along with iPhone 15 Pro Max. So if you are looking for, improved battery life, consider waiting for sure. It's definitely something I would definitely not purchase this right now if that's the main thing you're after. And when it comes to iOS 17, I also think you should consider waiting here as well, because iOS 17, while running fine on the 14 Pro, I always like to run the iOS that was launched on that phone for that year. So the iPhone 15 that's coming should run it better than most iPhones because that was the first software for that phone. I'm not saying that these won't run it great, but you're probably going to see the best performance ever on iOS 17 on the upcoming iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. And if you're going to be investing this money, why not just wait that extra couple months or two and get the iOS 17 that runs the absolute fastest and the absolute best, which should be on these upcoming 15 models. And Apple also disappointed us with the Apple A16 not being a fastest chip, in terms of like upgrading over the prior version. A lot of people take note of that the A15 is almost the same chip. And so with the Samsung Galaxy S23 line coming out and giving you, a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy, and in some speed tests outperforming iPhone 14 Pro, I don't think Apple's going to like that. So we'll see what they bring with the A17. I'm expecting a 3nm chipset, maybe even more RAM, maybe up to 8 gigs of RAM on these upcoming phones. And I think they're just going to blow away the competition in performance once again. So if you're looking for top level performance, the iPhone 14 Pros already have it, but that's not a bad deal. If you buy them, you're still going to have that. But if you're looking for the ultimate, upgrade in chip, I would definitely wait it out for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Those chips in there are going to likely be 3nm, which is going to probably be the first 3nm on mainstream phones, as we're seeing a lot of 4nm chips right now. I really just can't recommend you go ahead and buy the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro Max right now, just due to their prices, not because they're not great phones. These are excellent phones still. It's just right now in the month of July going into August, we're only about a month or so away. And these smartphones right here will still cost you well over $1,000, and that investment will likely drop in just a couple of months. When the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max comes out, you'll be able to get these for maybe $800 or $900, a several $100 savings. But right now you won't be able to get that huge savings. So I do want to recommend you guys wait it out for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, or you just need a phone right now and you're going to pick one of these up. If you have any questions about these models, drop it down below. Plenty of people in the community will tell you about their experiences, thoughts, and takes on these devices. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, click the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.